just stepped out of the hospital with his son when he was drawn to a begging little girl. She looked so helpless and hungry, wearing nothing but rags. He couldn't help but approach her, digging into his bag and handing her the last steamed bun he had. The man asked gently where her family was, and the girl broke down in tears, saying both her parents had passed away and she had no one left. She said she had no choice but to beg, but then she promised that once she earned money, she'd repay him. The man felt heartbroken. He told her he barely managed to take care of himself. How could he possibly earn money? She quickly replied she knew how to make dumplings and would set up a stall at the snack street to support herself. But right now, she didn't even have enough to start. Moved by her sincerity and determination, the man reached into his pocket and pulled out his last few hundred yuan, telling her that as long as she worked hard, her life would get better. Little did he know, this small act of kindness would change his entire fate. 18 years later, the man was now working on a construction site, struggling to raise money for his son's surgery. Suddenly, the hospital called. His son's condition had worsened and required immediate surgery. They needed payment right away. The man panicked, saying he'd pay as soon as he got paid from work. That same day, the company accountant came to hand out wages, but everyone was shocked. The amounts were wrong. The man immediately gathered the workers and marched to the foreman's office demanding answers. He reminded him they had agreed on a wage, why reduce it by half? The foreman, seeing the crowd, stood up calmly and said the project hadn't been paid yet, so only half the wages were being given out now. He assured them he'd settle everything once the funds arrived. The man, satisfied with the promise, left with the crew. Back at the hospital, he checked his son's bill, still unpaid. After leaving the hospital, he returned to work but soon found his co-workers angry. They were still waiting for their wages. The man promised he'd go straight to the foreman and demand payment, no matter what. When he entered the foreman's office, he confronted him directly. Do you really not plan to pay us at all? The foreman tried to deny it, claiming they were from the same hometown, and he'd never tricked him. But a woman nearby interrupted, shouting that they were just being played all along. Enraged, the man stood up and yelled, "After all these years, how could you betray me like this?" The foreman sneered, "What friendship? You're nobody special." The man clenched his fists, trying to stay calm, and said, "We've all worked hard for a whole year, don't you owe us our wages?" The foreman pretended to reach into his bag to hand over the money, but instead used the moment to humiliate him, forcing him to kneel and beg before he'd give it. Unbeknownst to the foreman, the CEO of the prestigious Dehao Group was searching for this very man. For all these years, the little girl had never forgotten the man who once gave her hope. She had been searching everywhere for him. By chance, she learned he was working on a construction site under her company. Now, with a team of assistants, she rushed to the site just as the foreman was about to force the man to sign a waiver giving up his wages. At this critical moment, the CEO arrived just in time. Download the Daily Short app to watch full episodes for free.